I do have a question for you. In the economy that we're in a shifting economy. Mm-hmm. We have office spaces. So the bankers are calling for office space to be hurting.
Yeah, tremendous.
Retail, not this type of retail, but strip mall type of retail.
Yep.
They're calling for suffering because strip malls.
Yeah.
And malls, right?
I'm selling a few of them.
Because of the reset of the interest rates going up and the vacancies being so high, especially in New York City, I'm hearing too, with the vacancies and people working from home. How do you feel about that, HL, when you have commercial spaces, and how should an investor be looking at commercial spaces right now? Do you think it's still a good play? And in what section do you think it's a good play? And another question, is a loaded question because I have it in my mind while I have here. There's talks about these redeveloping these big office spaces. So from you, I want to get your perspective. They're saying that some of them just don't make sense because an office is an office, and the cost is so stupid that you got to put bathrooms, and it's just like, how do you take an office building, turn them into apartments? It's just crazy ridiculous. I know I asked you a loaded question.
So
there's a lot of parts to that. I'm gonna get your thoughts on that.
Okay. When you're referring to the office space, I've had my own videos on it, right?
Okay.
Like you do, right? Mm-hmm. So my question was one to someone who debated me on something, right? And I'm in this business 40 years. I said some of the office buildings, depending on in the outskirt of the area, they can maybe be converted into residential, depending on what the building structure is. But here's the problem with office buildings that people keep on forgetting, and I keep on getting on this debate. There's no schools there. There's no grocery stores there. There's nothing there that you can say
to support a family.
Remember, when you got schools and people say, we'll put the schools in the floor, in one of the buildings on the first floor. Dude, that's bullshit, because you can do a little school, but now you're talking about elementary. Remember, when you do a school, now you got to do elementary, junior high, because now where you go? I'm still living here, now I got to go travel an hour away or half an hour away to go to high school? No, that don't happen, right? Mm-hmm. So the mentality is that certain office places are good if you can convert it. The state and the city must give you the approval. Not just the city, the state. Because some of these buildings, the way they're built, there's no fresh air in the middle. How do you get fresh air to the middle? You know what I mean? How do you get an apartment with no window? A bedroom without no window? Yeah. You see, these are the things that I'm blessed because I have construction in my life, right? Mm-hmm. I can tell you already that's not gonna work because of construction. What are you gonna do? Do a core in the middle and rip it all out? And now you have an alley and that you can have those open. You know how it is to cut a building in the middle, in the center, in the middle of the building?
Crazy,
and take it out, and now you got windows all around like a courtyard, let's call it that. Dude, the money's crazy. No way, not New York City. I'll go to where you're at because it's less expensive.
Yeah, the cost is
forget it. You can do $300,000-$400,000, you're building a mansion over there. Do $300,000, $100,000 was my front. Yeah. and never mind the windows, and then there was another $60,000 on the windows. So on that sense, I would love for that to do work, some of it, but the way I looked at it was your schooling, your libraries, your post office, your grocery stores. There's too many figures out that are not in there because they normally don't get built in that neighborhood.
In that neighborhood, yeah. So
even a restaurant.
So what do you propose as a developer that the solution to solve that problem, because it is a problem.
Oh, major problem.
Right? So the banks are going to be stuck with these bags in the hand because these office spaces can't cash flow.
No.
They have a vacancy issue.
Oh.
So now their mortgage rate's going to reset. What they're going to default on those loans. So the banks are going to have this on their balance sheet, and there's going to be opportunities for guys like you and for guys like me to get creative, because the banks are not in the business of owning real estate. They're in the money business. To get creative, and so what would a guy like you do with those office buildings, considering with Zoom and all this shit now, and technology, people are working from home, although that the bigger companies are now demanding people to come back to the office.
Right.
But we still have what we have. So what would you do with those spaces?
It depends. Here, look, we can probably go up to about 100 million, right, on some of our projects, right? But even that won't be enough on some of those buildings.
Shit.
So you're talking already 100 million.
Wow.
So and that's a rehab.
Wow, that's not even a new build. That's a rehab.
So if you're gonna rehab and spend, 80 million, 70 million, 100 million, dude, Where do you say? Now, here's the flip side. Who you rent to, and how much is the rent?
The numbers.
Yeah, the numbers.
The pro forma
So now,
numbers, yeah.
you got to look at the mathematics. And then is the city going to do something for the property tax? Because those big buildings, the property taxes, I got some buildings I'm paying $300,000 a year on property tax.
Wow.
$300,000, right? I think this building here, these couple of buildings here is 180, the ones here.
Wow.
And we filed for a tax abatement, which is the ICIP. We'll talk about that later. But those big buildings like that, and then you got a mortgage on it. So now you got to look. Here's the line. Let's fight. Listen, the bank has to take a hit. The city has to take a hit.
Bank is going to take a hit, yeah.
The city has to take a hit.
On taxes.
And the state has to take a hit. And then the state and the city got to help me pass what's not regulated in the sense of, okay, that one bedroom, it's all right if you don't have a window in there.
So they got to be willing to make exceptions for us to go.
And do exceptions on it that I can allow to do the construction. So that those components have to meet up together. If they don't, you don't got a deal. So how would I get into that? I would first have to get the ideal of that office building, right? Now you got to go to the bank, negotiate with the bank. After the bank, you got to go negotiate with the city. After the city, you got to go negotiate with the state. It's got to be worth my while and my people around me to say, yeah, it's all worth our while. You know what it is you're going to go through all those people? You got a year, 7 months before you get any answers. You go back and forth with them. State sucks, city sucks to give you answers. You need someone on that board there to help you and say, listen, I want to be part of you. Let me help you. Now they're dedicating their time, and now you're talking engineers.
Succeed, yeah.
Remember, let's go back this way. You still need an engineer and an architect to say, how can we restructure the building?
On your team to tell you, advising you, telling you, here's what you could
take
do.
Take this out. Let's make this apartments all the way on this side here, rip everything out, and make that the shaft. That the air comes in through there, and we can put windows this way. It is so much involved that I'm pretty sure it's been already a year and a half to 2 years. I've been discussing this with a lot of people, and having my take on it to say, I don't think that's going to work there. So until someone sits with all these people and have a solution from all of them, then we have an answer. But for me personally, on some of that, I step back a lot because I've already got too much experience in construction. And then you got a lot of people, and then you got to add 20% for the unforeseen, because once you start opening them up, you got a problem here, a problem here, and you got a problem here. And now remember, that's 20 stories, 40 stories. Now you got 40 times.
40 times 40.
40, yeah.